So people had some questions about my gold video that I posted on Facebook a while ago. So I will try to explain my reasoning behind why I think gold is going to go higher. I'll do silver in the second part because obviously I'm a big silver guy. So 1933, the U.S. government, I believe it was, maybe it's 32, I don't have any notes in front of me because I'm driving, decided to outlaw the use of gold currency. So basically they told everybody, turn in your gold currency, we'll give you cash value for, I think they gave them right around $25 an ounce in currency, and then pretty much after that was over, they immediately revalued at $35 an ounce after the government had possession of it all. So everybody kind of got stuck on the loss on that. The government was able to create some money. Nixon took the United States off the gold standard in 1971. They had already taken all of the gold from the banks and the personal people. That's, everybody hears about Fort Knox. That's where all the gold supposedly kept. I believe it's valued at $42.22 to this day. It has not changed. In 1975, Henry Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia and said, hey, we want to have you do all of your all of your oil transactions in U.S. currency, and if you do that, basically we'll offer you our military as protection. But they were going to do that to make gold obsolete as far as value goes, but give the fiat currency value and demand around the world. So that's when it became known as the petrodollar. The United States currently is not backed by anything. I got one in my wallet. The dollar says United States dollar note. Note is basically an IOU because there is nothing that is currently really backing it. It's basically, in my opinion, worthless money. If you would have gone back to 1971 and say bought a house, the average house in America was about $30,000. If you would have bought $30,000 worth of gold, it would be worth roughly $3.5 million, almost $4 million right now. That same amount of gold, if you just stuck it in a drawer and forgot about it. If you would have done the same thing with silver, it'd be worth just over $2 million. The spread on gold and silver is quite high as far as the ratio goes. So essentially, the United States government could take the gold that they have and revalue it, go to the Federal Reserve and say, we're revaluing the dollar. Just think of a mortgage and collateral, like taking out an equity line, and saying, we're going to revalue the gold that we have. Please give us the difference. So they could take gold, which today I think is right about $4,600 this video. I've actually done this video several times, but because they keep going up and down, it's kind of hard to keep track of. So they could take gold at $4,500 an ounce and say, you know what, we're going to revalue our gold, and we're going to say it's worth $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. Essentially go back to the Federal Reserve and say, okay, we need this much money, print it up, and that would pay off the current deficit, current liabilities. Right now, I think they're only collecting half of what their liabilities are, not even including the deficit. The United States deficit 20 years ago would take about 2.5 years to add $1 trillion. I believe the last report was about 72 days, so you're talking 2.5 months to add $1 trillion to the debt. So if you can see where I'm going with the snowballing effect here, they can't make and create enough money fast enough to keep themselves head above water. So if you were to do that, you essentially could create a ton of wealth. You could pay off some of the debt, some of the current liabilities of the government, but also create massive inflation. So everybody who's still using the dollar would lose significant value inflation. If you took that same $30,000 of the house in 1971 in gold, put that in a safe, it'd still be worth $30,000. It wouldn't buy you a car today. So that's where the logic is on that. That's where people are talking about. So when people say that's not going to happen, well, it has happened. It was illegal to use gold in this country for about 50 years. It was outlawed. It was illegal to use gold currency as tender. Florida and a couple other states have recently passed bills making it legal again. you can't really take a fraction off of gold coins to start paying taxes. That's why the government doesn't like it. That's why everybody likes electronic money, because it's easy enough to take your tax percentage out of everything, which, if you haven't figured it out, is quite a bit, because you pay tax on everything and anything, sometimes multiple times. Silver, everybody says it's a bubble. If you were to look at the daily paper notes of silver trading, they basically buy and sell more silver a day than physically exists. So everybody remembers the whole GameStop, if you follow trades, where people figured out they were shorting it, so they figured out how to leverage that the opposite direction and basically try to screw the shorters. And then they were trying to shut down transactions because obviously the stock trading companies are in on it. So if you have gold and silver, have it in your physical possession. I don't trust anything in a safe somebody else has. You could have a paper note saying that you own silver, but 100 other people could have the same note for the same silver until you ask for it. So silver might be your big breakout right now. I was a little off on my gold projection. I think it's gone up about $800 since my last video. I assumed it was going to be $5,000 by the end of November. But like I said, it's $4,600, and that was about a little over a month and a half ago. So it's still going up. Silver could be your big breakout if you wanted to buy something that was going to hold value. Last I looked, it was sitting around $86. It went up over 80, and then it went back down, and everybody said it was a bubble. One of the reasons I don't trust what everybody says on the economy is, if everybody remembers the housing crash where they were giving mortgages to people who really shouldn't have had mortgages, could never afford mortgages. And if you've seen the movie The Big Short, was everybody pays their mortgage. Well, people don't always pay their mortgage if they have to choose between paying for groceries and paying for electricity and everything else people have to eat before they have to worry about the mortgage. But they told everybody that the economy's fine, the housing crash was never going to happen. People who called that were called fools. But if you bought a house, which I bought my first house in 2004, I could see the writing on the wall just because of the whole story I have behind that. Back to silver. So silver at $86. There's a big push for AI right now in the United States. The problem with AI is it needs a lot of power. They project they need 100 power plants to power all these AI stations, and they have maybe 10 in the works, but they're 10 years out. And it takes years and years of planning and engineering to create these, so we're nowhere near where we need to be for energy consumption. So the other alternative would be solar. Solar uses silver and most of its solar panels and products. It's very big on electronics. Samsung is working on a new battery, I believe, that's going to take silver. They've actually contracted with a mine to buy all of their silver. So that will not be directly to the market. That's going to go directly to the manufacturer. China has basically said after January 1st they were not going to be allowing any exports of silver anymore. It's all going to stay in the country. And if you look at world events, we have a fracturing going on, in my opinion, for natural resources. It's pretty much going to be split right down the Americas and Europe and Asia as far as that goes. That's what a lot of this stuff is behind the scenes. If you're following what's going on with trying to take over countries, Greenland, and all that, that's happening. It's basically about commodities, resources. Not so much oil. I think it's going to be about natural resources as far as minerals, rare earths, stuff like that we need for batteries. Like I said, if China's already cracking down with silver, they'll start doing the same thing next. And most of our stuff comes from China, as most people know. The BRICS nations, if you're keeping up with currency trading, when you trade currency, one currency to another, they use the SWIFT system. The SWIFT system is basically the market where you trade $1 for a yen or a won or whatever you're going to trade. And when President Biden started putting sanctions on Russia, saying, okay, we're just going to cut you out of the system, you're no longer going to use it, Russia went to a few countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I forget the last one as always, started to create their own system that's called the BRIC system, so they can do their own trading for currency. And they also said they were going to gold back their currencies. So any currency that was going to be exchanged could be exchanged for physical gold. Now, if the United States has a problem with gold and we have a fiat currency, there's less and less demand for it. You take the Japanese yen, they used to pretty much lend money at almost no interest, and you could come to the United States and buy a United States Treasury bond at several percent interest, somewhere around 3%, on money that you borrowed for 0.5%. You basically take somebody else's money and make money from somebody else's money that's not even yours, and just collect profits on it. So right now the United States is trying to sell treasury bonds for long term to sell their debt to try to keep going, but there's only so long you can sell debt. After a while, people don't want to buy it anymore. So silver could probably hit $200 in a year, which would be more than 100% return. Gold is still probably going to go up as people panic and try to get themselves out of physical cash, dollar cash, cryptocurrencies. I don't have any more cryptocurrency. I've sold all out of that. In my opinion, cryptocurrency can be controlled, especially if there's going to be a power issue. So my current thought process is to take some of your assets. If you have something that can be saved, buy physical land, something you can hold on to that's not going to lose value, or something like gold and silver that you can always use in a pinch because it's been used as currency throughout history. Silver in this country has been running about 80 to 1 against gold. But throughout history, it's been closer to 2 to 1, 10 to 1. I think on average, from what I figured out, it was closer to 10 to 1 throughout history. So when you start saying we're at 80 to 1, there's a lot of potential for that to continue to grow, and shows that it has obviously been devalued on purpose for stock trading, money trading. So buy some gold and silver, keep it in your physical possession.